Chapter 416. The Missing Document. Say, it really doesn't let one rest easy. The man wearing the white fox mask narrowed his eyes slightly, his gaze falling on the few figures who were stepping on the wind and flames, chasing after the plump Bailey. He slowly raised his right hand. On his index and middle fingers were two rings. One was silver-white, the other was pitch black. Snap. A crisp sound of a finger snap echoed in the night sky. The four object enforcers who were stepping on the wind to chase Bailey suddenly halted. In an instant, all the air around them was sucked away, the surrounding wind and flames vanished, and an unprecedented sense of suffocation enveloped their hearts. Without the force provided by the wind, the four of them simultaneously began to fall towards the forest below, their eyes wide open, looking around as if trying to find something. The three figures riding the replica of the Yaoguang also stopped under the intense feeling of suffocation, their veins bulging, hands clutching their necks, pain evident in their eyes. In a moment, all the figures chasing Bailey were frozen in place. The young man in the white fox mask calmly observed this scene, confirming that Bailey had escaped the scene, then silently tucked his hands into his pockets and turned to walk into the dark forest. After about 20 minutes, another figure appeared in the woods. Shin Qingzhu, I just heard some noise from your side. Did you find the trace of Bailey Tuming? The figure walked up to him and asked. Shin Qingzhu shook his head, reporting to the ninth seat, I haven't found Bailey Tuming's trace. The other members of the Bailey family are just searching for him. I don't know where he has run off to. The ninth seat furrowed his brow thoughtfully. Why did the Bailey family come out to look for him? I wonder if they are here to protect him or, like us, to hunt him down. Shin Qingzhu pondered for a moment and asked, We are hunting him for the bounty, but aren't they family? Why would the Bailey family want to hunt him down? Who knows? Big families are always chaotic. There are all kinds of people. The ninth seat shook his head. Let's reanalyze Bailey Tuming's possible escape routes. If we can't find him during the next ambush, we'll have to stake out in Guangshan City. Shin Qingzhu nodded. Understood. Gusu City. Ding dong. The doorbell rang and Lin Chia, sitting on the sofa, raised an eyebrow and quickly walked to the door. He looked through the peephole and then opened the door. Hello, Captain Lin Chia. Outside stood a young man in casual clothes, holding a black long box, which he presented to Lin Chia. The bow and arrows you wanted repaired are finished, along with new medals and team documents. Please sign for them. Lin Chia nodded, took the long box in his arms, signed his name on the night watchman's dedicated document card, and then turned to walk back inside. This was a safe house arranged by the night watchman headquarters in the suburbs of Gusu City. From the outside it looked like a long-abandoned villa, but inside the furniture was regularly maintained and accommodating a few people was not a problem. Besides the night watchman, no one else knew about this place. Lin Chia entered the house with the long box, and Jialan quickly approached, pointing at the black box and then at herself, blinking curiously. Is it mine? Yes, it's yours. Lin Chia handed the black box to Jialan, smiling as he said, Open it and take a look. Jialan excitedly placed the black box on the coffee table, pressed the button on the handle, and the black box automatically popped open. Inside the black foam lay a light yellow hardwood bough. Jialan's eyes instantly lit up. She gently took the bough out of the foam, carefully rubbing the bough's body with both hands, finding no signs of breakage as if it had always been whole. A faint smile appeared on Jialan's face, her eyes filled with affection. Isn't this just like before? Chao Yuan, sitting on the sofa, asked in confusion upon seeing the bough that looked no different from the previous one. Lin Chia took out a card placed on the foam, glanced at it and said, The headquarters said that using a straight knife material to reshape the bough would cause the original bough to lose its elasticity, so they only restored the bough using technical means and applied a thin layer of a nano-coating similar to the straight knife material on the surface of the bough. Although it looks the same as before, its hardness far exceeds that of ordinary steel. Chao Yuan nodded thoughtfully. It seems the headquarters really put in effort. Lin Chia turned to look at Jialan, who was cherishing the light yellow wooden bough, and smiled. So, do you still like it? Jialan nodded like a chick pecking at rice. That's good. Lin Chia removed the foam from the black box, and beneath it lay two sealed confidential documents. Lin Chia casually took out one document and began to read. This document mainly contained feedback from the higher-ups regarding their team's involvement in the Belgrande incident. Overall, they were very satisfied with the results of the 5th Reserve Team and decided to award them a collective Star Medal, to be issued alongside the Starlight Medal from the original Forest. In the document, the higher-ups also inquired about how Lin Chia wanted the medals to be distributed. Medals of star rank and above have 2 different distribution methods. One is to deliver them directly to their hands like this, and the other is for the entire team to go to the Night Watchman headquarters in Shangjing City for a formal awarding ceremony. After thinking for a moment, Lin Chia decided to use the first method of delivery. Although this method is somewhat informal, it is the most convenient for a special team that often needs to travel across the vast Xia region. After all, they can't keep going back to Shangjing for awards, wasting time and energy. Moreover, they were set to depart for Guangshan tomorrow to attend Bai Li's birthday banquet, leaving no time to go to Shangjing. Lin Chia set down this document and glanced at the other one, a slight smile appearing on his lips. This one was Jiao Lan's official team entry document, which also included a Night Watchman emblem unique to her. Since she was not originally a member of the Night Watchman, the emblem needed to be issued. This meant that from this moment on, Jiao Lan officially became a member of the 5th Reserve. Just then, Lin Chia seemed to think of something and frowned slightly. Since Jiao Lan's entry document had already been issued, why hadn't Bai Li's entry document appeared yet? Chapter 417. Entering the Market. Bailey Tumming's team application? On the phone, Yi Fan's voice sounded somewhat puzzled. When did you submit Bailey Tumming's team application? I didn't see it during the approval process. Lin Chia stood by the window with his phone in hand, and upon hearing this, he froze in place. But I clearly submitted it, along with the team applications of Chao Yuan and An Qingyu. Lin Chia recalled carefully for a moment and said earnestly. On the other end of the line, Yi Fan remained silent for a long time, followed by the sound of rustling as if he was searching for something. I did not receive Bailey Tumming's team application here, Yi Fan stated firmly. Either the application is missing in transit, or someone has withheld it. Someone withheld it? Lin Chia couldn't help but ask, who would want to withhold Bailey Tumming's team application? It should be someone from the Night Watchers. You don't need to worry about this, I'll handle it, Yi Fan pondered for a moment. Also, remember to have Bailey Tumming submit another team application. Lin Chia nodded, okay. After hanging up the phone, Lin Chia gazed out at the desolate suburbs, his brow slightly furrowed. Although it was just a missing application, Lin Chia couldn't shake off an ominous premonition. He picked up his phone and called Bailey Pang Pang 3 times in a row, but none of the calls went through. What did Commander Yi say? Chao Yuan walked out of the living room and asked. He said the application is missing in transit or has been withheld by someone, Lin Chia replied honestly. But I feel like this matter isn't that simple. Chao Yuan nodded. What do you want to do? Lin Chia lowered his head in thought for a moment. Let's check if An Qingyu has finished her experiment. If she's almost done, we'll book tickets to Guangzhou Shenzhen right away. Guangzhou Shenzhen highway entrance. A large truck with a low rumble slowly pulled over to the side of the road. The driver engaged the handbrake and stepped down from the driver's seat. In front of the truck, several traffic police were carefully inspecting the exterior, seemingly searching for something. Friend, what are you checking for? The driver approached one of the traffic police, pulled out a cigarette from his pocket, and smiled as he offered it to the officer. The traffic police glanced at him and waved his hand, refusing the cigarette. What do you have loaded on this truck? The driver was taken aback. Just some fine pigs. Open it up. Seeing the driver frozen in place, the officer pointed to the truck bed and repeated, I told you to open it. All right. The driver grabbed the latch of the truck bed and pulled hard. With a creaking sound, the large door slowly opened, releasing a wave of foul odor that made the traffic police wrinkle their noses. One of the officers covered his nose with one hand while sweeping a flashlight across the dimly lit truck bed. Inside, dozens of plump white pigs were huddled together, emitting low grunting sounds. Let's go. The officer glanced at the truck bed with some disdain, unwilling to linger, waved his hand and walked away toward a nearby car. The driver nodded and hurriedly closed the truck bed door, quickly returning to the driver's seat. He engaged the handbrake and pressed the accelerator, causing the truck to gradually disappear down the road, heading straight toward the brightly lit Guangzhou Shenzhen city. No one noticed that on the top of the truck bed, a chalk mark suddenly appeared, drawing a large circle. In the next moment, the heavy truck wall vanished and a dirty figure crawled out, lying on top of the truck bed, gasping for air. Cough, cough, cough. Damn it, it stinks. The foul-smelling Bailey Pang Pang coughed a few times, his face pale. He looked around, confirming that the truck had entered a secluded path and that there were no surveillance cameras nearby, then leaped down from the top of the truck. After rolling a few times on the roadside to dissipate his momentum, he quickly slipped into the shadows beside the road, disappearing from sight. After escaping from the woods, Bailey Pang Pang randomly chose a passing truck to hide in the cargo area using spatial chalk to evade his pursuers. Little did he know that he had fortuitously picked a truck loaded with sows. But at this point there was no other choice. He had to endure the unpleasant smell and share the truck bed with the pigs for an hour. When selecting the truck, he had specifically noted the license plate. It was registered in Guangzhou Shenzhen, and it was also on the highway heading to Guangzhou Shenzhen. Thus, Bailey Pang Pang deduced that the truck's destination was indeed Guangzhou Shenzhen, and his reasoning proved correct. As they exited the highway through the toll booth, Bailey Pang Pang keenly sensed the external changes. He used the spatial chalk to pierce through the truck bed's top wall in advance and hid on the roof, thus avoiding a round of searches. Once the traffic police left, he quickly slipped back into the truck bed to prevent being spotted by surveillance cameras at the toll booth. Physically and mentally exhausted, Bailey Pang Pang stood atop a small hill, gazing at the brightly lit city in the distance. His face, stained with dirt, showed no signs of emotional fluctuation as his fists slowly clenched and his eyes deepened. Guangzhou Shenzhen. I'm back, he murmured to himself. After staring at the urban sprawl for a moment, Bailey Pang Pang took a step forward. Although he had now entered the Guangzhou Shenzhen area, it did not mean the crisis was over. In this city dominated by the Bailey family, the dangers he faced were several times greater than in other places. As the largest conglomerate in the Great Xia, the Bailey Group's influence had spread across the country, like a vast net cast wide. Guangzhou Shenzhen was at the center of this net, the region with the most terrifying energy. Here, everywhere were the Bailey family's eyes and ears. How to navigate through these eyes and safely return home was the challenge he had to face at this moment. Relying solely on his own strength was definitely insufficient. Under the watchful eyes of the Bailey family, not even a fly could approach the Bailey Group unnoticed. He needed to find someone to help him. But even the Earth Fire Feng Shui 4 Forbidden Objects master he trusted the most had betrayed him. Who else could he trust? Bailey Pang Pang squatted down and wrote several names in the dirt with a stick. After a long silence, he crossed them out one by one. Anyone associated with the Bailey family could no longer be trusted. He could only seek help from forces outside the Bailey family. Finally, his gaze settled on a particular name. Chapter 418. Young Master Jing's Friendship. Buzz. The sound of engines sliced through the air as a plane slowly descended from the sky, landing on the smooth runway. Dear passengers, we have arrived at Qingyun Airport in Guangzhou Shenzhen City. Please take care of your personal belongings. The beautiful voice of the flight attendant echoed within the cabin. Lin Chia followed the long line of passengers as they exited the plane and entered the arrival hall through the jet bridge. After retrieving their luggage, the four of them stood at the entrance of the arrival hall, staring at the seemingly endless line of taxis, falling into silence. Chia, how should we go now? Should we find a hotel first or head to the Bailey Group? Chow Yuan couldn't help but ask. We're not familiar with Guangzhou Shenzhen, will we get ripped off by the taxi? Lin Chia looked at the traffic in front of him and let out a long sigh. According to their original plan, they were supposed to arrive in Guangzhou Shenzhen tomorrow afternoon, and Bailey Pang Pang had already arranged for someone to pick them up. However, they had come early this time without notifying anyone from the Bailey Group, leaving them momentarily lost. It wasn't that Lin Chia was reluctant to spend money on a taxi. It was just that the Bailey Group had too many properties in Guangzhou Shenzhen, and he had no idea where to find Bailey Pang Pang. Just as the group was frowning in confusion, a black stretch Lincoln slowly pulled up in front of them. A handsome man in a suit and white gloves stepped out of the driver's seat and quickly walked towards them. Hello, are you Captain Lin Chia? Hearing this, Lin Chia was taken aback. From this one sentence he gleaned two pieces of information. 1. The person knew his name. 2. The person was aware of his identity as the captain of a special team. But it was important to note that they were a team that didn't even exist in the Night Watchers' files. Aside from the higher-ups of the Night Watchers, it was impossible for anyone to know of their existence, let alone his captaincy. Are you from the Bailey family? Lin Chia frowned slightly. The only person Lin Chia could think of who might know his identity was the chairman of the Bailey Group, one of the honorary high-ranking members of the Night Watchers, Bailey Xan. He was a high-ranking member of the Night Watchers and also Bailey Pongpong's father, so it wasn't surprising that he knew about this special team. Yes, I am young Master Jing's butler. My name is Chong Kongsheng. Seeing Lin Chia's bewildered expression, Chong Kongsheng smiled and explained, Young Master Bailey Jing is the adopted son of our Bailey Group's chairman and the younger brother of young Master. Usually when the old master is busy, he handles various matters related to the group. Upon hearing this, Lin Chia nodded thoughtfully. But we clearly scheduled to arrive in Guangzhou Shenzhen tomorrow. How did you know we were coming today without any notice? And Qingyu narrowed her eyes and asked. Chong Kongsheng smiled as he replied, As soon as you booked your tickets to Guangzhou Shenzhen, our young Master Jing was already aware of your itinerary. He was concerned that you would be unfamiliar with the area, so he specifically arranged for me to pick you up. Lin Chia's brow furrowed slightly. Although it was a kind gesture, the feeling of having everything about himself known by the other party made him somewhat uncomfortable. However, considering that the other party was Bailey Pongpong's brother, he didn't say much. All right. Lin Chia nodded. Chong Kongsheng helped everyone load their luggage into the car, and Lin Chia and the others got into the stretch Lincoln. The interior was even more spacious than he had imagined, featuring 2 long leather sofas and even an ornamental fish tank beside the sofa. All the furnishings looked quite expensive. Jialan sat at the edge of the sofa, curiously examining the fish tank, gently poking the glass surface with her finger, her gaze following the goldfish as they swam. Chong Kongsheng took his seat in the driver's seat, fastened his seatbelt and smiled as he said, Dear guests, our young master has prepared accommodations for you. Shall we head there now? Lin Chia pondered for a moment and nodded, Sure. The vehicle slowly started moving and Lin Chia and the others felt no vibrations as they sat in the car. Elegant classical music flowed from the expensive car audio system, making them feel as if they were at a concert. Lin Chia gazed out at the scenery through the window and after a moment asked, Has Bailey Tumming arrived in Guangzhou Shenzhen? Chong Kongsheng, who was driving, smiled and replied, Young Master returned to Guangzhou Shenzhen yesterday. Didn't he report his itinerary to you? Lin Chia shook his head. No, and it seems his phone is unreachable. Chong Kongsheng thought for a moment. After young Master returned yesterday, he has been busy, so he might not have had time to check his phone. After all, he has too many important guests to attend to. It's good that he's back. Hearing that Bailey Pangpang was safe, Lin Chia sighed in relief, leaning back against the leather sofa and slowly closing his eyes. Why was it young Master Jing's people who came to receive us instead of Bailey Tumming's? At that moment, and Qingyu, who had been silent, suddenly spoke up. Lin Chia opened his eyes again. Chong Kongsheng was slightly taken aback by her question. Young Master has been busy handling the arrangements for tomorrow's birthday banquet, so he might have forgotten. After all, he has always been a bit forgetful. Moreover, he has always been close to our young Master Jing. You are young Master's friends, so naturally young Master Jing would care about your matters. And Qingyu narrowed her eyes, seemingly pondering something, and did not pursue the question further. After about half an hour of driving, the stretch Lincoln slowly stopped in front of a luxurious 5-star hotel lobby. As soon as Lin Chia and the others got out of the car, several doormen helped them with their luggage as they walked into the lobby. This is one of our Bailey Group's properties, the most prestigious luxury hotel in all of Guangzhou Shenzhen. While introducing, Chong Kongsheng led them directly to the elevator, where several front desk staff handed them their room keys without any check-in procedures. As the elevator slowly ascended, the group could clearly see a large portion of Guangzhou Shenzhen's night view through the clean, bright glass doors. Finally, the elevator stopped on the 88th floor. On the entire 88th floor there was only one suite. The most luxurious presidential suite in this hotel has been prepared for you by young Master Jing. Even the wealthiest individuals may not have the opportunity to stay here. Only our true distinguished guests of the Bailey Group are qualified to do so. Chang Kongxing walked to the suite door, using a black gold room card to unlock it. The automatic lights inside turned on one after another, revealing a brightly lit ultra-luxurious suite before them. Chang Kongxing stood at the door and smiled as he said, "Dear guests, having gained young Master Jing's friendship, you are naturally the most esteemed guests of our Bailey group." Chapter 419. I want to go home. Whoosh. On the 88th floor of a luxury hotel, and Qingyu stood quietly in front of the coffee machine, lost in thought. The rich aroma of coffee spread through the living room. And Qingyu came back to his senses, picked up his coffee cup, and walked toward the panoramic floor-to-ceiling window nearby. Under the black sky, the modern city, illuminated by flickering neon lights, exuded an intoxicating atmosphere. Even though it was late at night, the city showed no signs of quieting down. A few supercars occasionally zipped past the empty road, their roaring engines breaking the silence of the night before disappearing into the distance. In front of the clean and bright floor-to-ceiling window, the reflections of two young men were clearly visible. "What do you think?" Lin Chia, standing by the window, suddenly spoke. And Qingyu stirred his coffee, the steam condensing into a fog on his glasses. "Something feels off." "I feel the same way." Lin Chia nodded slightly. Although Pang Pang can be unreliable at times, he has always been attentive to our matters. Even if he's busy, he wouldn't forget to host us. And Qingyu pondered for a moment. "And that young Master Jing gives me a strange feeling too." "Exactly." Lin Chia narrowed his eyes slightly. "From the beginning, that butler Chang has been subtly implying that everything we enjoy is provided by Li Jing, without mentioning Pang Pang at all, as if he deliberately wanted to erase his existence." And Qingyu took a sip of coffee, thought for a moment and uncertainly said, "Family infighting? That's a possibility. The Bailey family's assets are too vast. The position of chairman and head of the Bailey group is enough to drive most people crazy. If this Li Jing is as powerful as Chang Kongxing said, then it wouldn't be surprising for him to be at odds with Li Pang Pang and secretly undermine him." And Qingyu analyzed carefully. Lin Chia didn't respond, just quietly gazing at the night view outside. After a long while he sighed deeply. "What's wrong? If it's just simple family infighting, then it's not a big deal," Lin Chia slowly spoke. "As long as old Master Li firmly stands by Li Pang Pang, they won't be able to stir up much trouble." And Qingyu nodded. "That's true. Since that person from the Li family can support the entire Li group, he certainly can't be a fool. He should have already guessed that some people would be at odds with Li Pang Pang and try to undermine him. As long as he intervenes, others won't be able to shake Li Pang Pang's position at all." After Qingyu finished speaking, he noticed that Lin Chia's expression was still somewhat serious and couldn't help but ask, "Since Li Pang Pang's position can't be shaken, what are you still worried about?" Lin Chia shook his head and turned to walk into the living room. "I hope I'm just overthinking." In Suzhou City, at a luxurious standalone villa, a man in his 30s was sitting on a large sofa, gently swirling a goblet in his hand, his gaze fixed on the expensive red wine that rippled with a dark red hue. After a moment he raised his head and downed it in one go. Tap tap tap. "Good morning, Captain." A plump woman walked down the stairs with a smile. Wei Xiuming turned to look at her, raised his goblet and smiled. "Morning, Miao Su. Want to join me for a drink?" Miao Su shook her head. "Captain, drinking early in the morning isn't good for your stomach." Wei Xiuming helplessly set his goblet down on the table, slowly stood up and stretched. "There's no choice. The Li family sent over too much wine. If I don't finish this bottle soon, there won't be room for new ones in the wine cabinet." He walked to the background wall of the TV, pushed open the wooden sliding door on the wall, and the massive cabinet door silently opened, revealing a whole wall of expensive red wine densely packed in the wooden cabinet, stacked like a small mountain. "If there's no room, just don't take it." Miao Su said, "Captain, we're night watchmen. It's not wise to get too involved with them." "I know, but..." Wei Xiuming looked at the wall of red wine with some pain. "You know I have no resistance to alcohol. If I don't accept it, they'll just pour it down the toilet, which is such a waste." Miao Su sighed helplessly, shook her head and went to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. "What about old Han and the others?" Miao Su suddenly remembered something and asked. "They went to deal with that new mysterious occurrence last night and haven't returned yet." Wei Xiuming muttered, I wonder if they went to some club to spend the night again. Miao Su rolled her eyes and forcefully crushed a raw egg in her hand. Captain, you need to have a serious talk with them. They're acting so recklessly every day. They don't even look like night watchmen anymore. I know. I'll definitely give them a good talking to when they get back. Wei Xiuming said seriously. Ding dong. Just as the two were talking, a crisp doorbell rang. Wei Xiuming was about to ask Miao Su to open the door, but seeing her busy in the kitchen, he sighed and got up to open the door himself. Seeing the figure standing outside, Wei Xiuming froze in place. Bai Li Tuming? Wei Xiuming looked at the disheveled and foul-smelling little fatty in shock. What happened to you? Bai Li Pang forced a smile. I've run into some trouble recently. Captain, can I come in? Come in quickly. Wei Xiuming led Bai Li Pang into the house. Miao Su, who was busy in the kitchen, was equally shocked by his appearance and quickly untied her apron to come over. Little Tuming, what happened to you? Who bullied you? Tell me. I'll go beat them up right now. Miao Su's eyes flared with anger. It's nothing, no need, Sister Miao. Miao Su, go to my room and get him a clean set of clothes and bring the medical kit. Wei Xiuming's expression darkened as he saw the wounds on Bai Li Pang's body. Oh, okay. Moments later, Bai Li Pang changed into a clean outfit and sat on the sofa, while Miao Su held alcohol and bandages, carefully treating his wounds. Wei Xiuming sat across from Bai Li Pang, his expression more serious than ever. Go on, what happened? Bai Li Pang bitterly recounted everything that had happened on the way, and Wei Xiuming's frown deepened. You're saying someone from the Bai Li family wants to kill you? He asked in surprise. Who has the guts to do that? You're the designated heir of the Bai Li group. Bai Li Pang lowered his head, remaining silent. I have an idea about this matter. Bai Li Pang looked up into Wei Xiuming's eyes and said seriously, I came here with only one request. I want to go home. Chapter 420. Open the door for me. Wei Xiuming and Miao Su exchanged a glance. I understand what you mean, Wei Xiuming said thoughtfully. You believe that if someone within the Bailey group wants to kill you, they will definitely mobilize their eyes and ears in Guangzhou and Shenzhen to search for your whereabouts. You want to avoid these eyes and ears and return home. Exactly, Bai Li Pang nodded emphatically. I know very well how much power the Bailey group has in Guangzhou and Shenzhen. It's impossible for me to evade them and return home quietly on my own, so I need your help. No problem, Wei Xiuming replied without hesitation. You are a member of our Team 010, and we will do our utmost to help you. Hearing this, a smile appeared on Bai Li Pang's face, and the anxiety he had been feeling finally eased. But how do we avoid the Bailey family's spies and get Xiao Tuming home? Miao Su, who had just finished bandaging Bai Li Pang, asked in confusion. Wei Xiuming stood up and paced around the living room for a moment, then formulated a plan. I'll call Lao Han and the others back immediately. Using their forbidden market, it won't be difficult to silently enter the Bailey residence. Outside the villa, an inconspicuous black sedan parked nearby, and a man slowly lowered his binoculars. Just as young Master Jing predicted, after he arrived in Guangzhou and Shenzhen, he immediately came back to find Team 010. He turned to his companion in the passenger seat. Report to the young master. Understood. The man in the passenger seat was about to open his earpiece when a sharp knocking sound suddenly came from beside him. He turned to see a young man knocking on the window, a cigarette dangling from his mouth, one hand in his pocket and a smile on his face. The two men exchanged glances before rolling down the window. What do you want? The man asked coldly. Hey brother, can I borrow a lighter? The young man leaned into the car, grinning. I don't have a lighter. Go find someone else. As soon as the man finished speaking, he was about to roll up the window. Tisk, so stingy. The young man spat out the cigarette and placed his hand on the window, lightly snapping his fingers. Snap. In the next moment, the air inside the sedan was completely vacuumed out. The two men widened their eyes in terror, turning to look at the young man with his hand in his pocket, as if realizing something and simultaneously reaching under their seats. At that moment, two hands reached out from the back seat, gripping the shoulders of both men. The pupils of the two men constricted. There was no one sitting in the back seat of the car. Before they could turn around, their shoulders twisted like pretzels, bones and muscles fracturing inch by inch. They opened their mouths in agony as if howling, but not a sound escaped. A few seconds later, the struggling men gradually lost strength, slumping in their seats, completely breathless. Shin Qingzhu narrowed his eyes, opened the car door and dragged the two bodies out, tossing them into a nearby trash bin before taking the driver's seat. "How did you guess that Bailey Tumming would come back here?" Shin Qingzhu asked while adjusting the rearview mirror. The ninth seat in the back slowly replied, "I had dealings with Team 010 here before and knew their safe house's location. Since Bailey Tumming is also a member of Team 010, it was expected that he would return to seek their help." He glanced at the two trash bins by the roadside and continued, "Our believers' mission target is not something just anyone can interfere with. If the Bailey family gets involved, it could cause me trouble." Shin Qingzhu nodded. "So what's the next step?" The ninth seat looked at the roadside and saw another car stopping at the villa's entrance. Soon after, Bailey Pang Pang and the others walked out of the villa and got into that car. He pulled a piece of gum from his pocket, chewed it a few times, then spat it into his palm and flicked it lightly toward the sedan. The gum twisted in the air like a spiral, silently slicing through the air, and accurately adhered to the car's exhaust pipe. Vroom. The sedan started again, leaving the villa entrance, and the light around the car strangely distorted, causing the vehicle to completely vanish from the two men's sight. Shin Qingzhu frowned slightly, but the ninth seat wore a knowing expression and calmly said, "One of the members of Team 010 can control the refraction of light, making people or objects around them enter a state of optical invisibility. However, I've already placed a tracker on that car, so from now on, follow my instructions while driving." "Got it." Shin Qingzhu fastened his seatbelt and nodded. "Should we ambush them on the way?" The ninth seat pondered for a moment. "No, with Team 010 protecting them, our chances of success are low and it would be easy to alert them. Let's follow them from a distance and see what they intend to do." Half an hour later, a sedan suddenly appeared out of nowhere on an empty road. Lao Han turned the steering wheel, bringing the sedan to a stop by the roadside. He looked at the tightly closed gate of the estate ahead and said, "This is as far as I can go. The entrance to your Bailey family's estate is right in front. I can't enter." Bailey Pang Pang in the back seat nodded. "This is enough. I'll walk the rest of the way myself." He turned to Wei Xiuming, Miao Su and the others beside him, a smile on his face. "Thank you all." Wei Xiuming waved his hand. "No need to be so polite. We're all members of the same team. It's only right to help each other. You go ahead. If anything goes wrong, just send us a signal and we'll rush in to save you." Bailey Pang Pang expressed his gratitude to everyone, then got out of the sedan. Taking a deep breath, he revealed a determined look in his eyes and stepped toward the closed gate of the estate. The suddenly appearing sedan caught the attention of the estate guards. They frowned and discussed for a moment, just as Bailey Pong Pong's figure approached the gate. "Young master!" the guards exclaimed in surprise upon seeing Bailey Pang Pang. "You're back." Bailey Pang Pang stood quietly before the black iron gate, peering through the gaps in the bars at the luxurious white villa in the center of the garden. "Open the gate," he said calmly. The guards exchanged glances. "Young master, please wait while we ask for permission." Bailey Pang Pang abruptly turned his head, his eyes cold as he stared at them, speaking each word deliberately. "Since when do I need to ask for permission to return to my own home?" A flash of golden light appeared on his chest, and the Yaoguang transformed into a golden flying sword in his hand, exuding a murderous aura. Standing before the estate gate, his voice was chillingly cold. "I'll say it again, open the gate for me." Chapter 421. Breakfast. Seeing the Yaoguang flying sword in Bailey Pong Pong's hand, the expressions of several guards changed slightly. After exchanging glances, they silently pressed the buttons in their hands. Creak. A low, deep humming sound echoed as the heavy black steel door slowly opened, revealing a smooth path covered in ginkgo leaves in front of Bailey Pang Pang. Bailey Pang Pang waved his hand to disperse the Yaoguang flying sword, his expression unreadable as he calmly walked toward the luxurious villa in the distance. Once Bailey Pang Pang left, one guard quickly ran to the security booth, took out a walkie-talkie and lowered his voice to say, "Young master's back. He really is back." On both sides of the Ginkgo Avenue, the servants who were focused on cleaning the road looked up at the familiar figure, their eyes filled with surprise, but they still bowed and respectfully greeted him. "Good morning, young master." Bai Li Pangpang ignored them and walked straight ahead. He didn't care what others were thinking, he was too tired. He just wanted to return to his own home, find his father and mother, and tell them everything he had experienced along the way. He believed that with his father's wisdom he would surely help him find the person who was secretly plotting against him and restore his justice. Thus, under the watchful eyes of everyone, he arrived at the villa's entrance. He looked at the familiar door in front of him, slowly extended his hand and pressed the doorbell beside it. Ding dong. The crisp sound of the doorbell rang out. Moments later, the door opened, revealing a young man dressed in a white shirt, wearing a dark green tie and gold-rimmed glasses, standing quietly behind the door. Upon seeing Bai Li Pangpang, he was momentarily taken aback, then his brows furrowed slightly. "Bai Li Tuming," he said, somewhat surprised, "what are you doing here?" Bai Li Pangpang was also taken aback, then he stared at the young man with a furrowed brow, a hint of anger flickering in his eyes as he spoke slowly. "Bai Li Jing? Why are you in my house?" Bai Li Jing raised an eyebrow and said with a hint of amusement, "What? Is there a problem with me being at my adoptive father's house?" Bai Li Pangpang fixed his gaze on his eyes, remaining silent for a long time before coldly asking, "So, does my experience along the way have anything to do with you?" Hearing this, Bai Li Jing scrutinized Bai Li Pangpang for a moment, then smiled. "It seems you've learned a few skills during your time with the Night Watchers. I didn't expect they wouldn't be able to kill you. That's a bit surprising." "You bastard." Bai Li Pangpang felt an unprecedented surge of anger rise within him. He clenched his fists tightly and swung out. Just as his fist was about to strike Bai Li Jing's face, a low and familiar voice came from inside the house. "Who is it?" Hearing this voice, Bai Li Pangpang instinctively retracted his fist, the rushing wind from his punch brushing past Bai Li Jing's cheek, barely missing his nose. Bai Li Jing's expression darkened as he looked at Bai Li Pangpang, his eyes narrowing into a dangerous arc. "Bai Li Tuming, you'd better understand where this is and what day it is today." He sneered, turned around and instantly broke into a warm and refined smile. "Dad Tuming is back." Bai Li Pangpang was slightly taken aback, and in the next moment he quickly withdrew his fist and hid his hands behind his back. Behind the door, a middle-aged man with graying hair walked to the center of the porch. Upon seeing Bai Li Pangpang, his stern expression softened slightly as he calmly nodded. "Tuming is back? Let's have breakfast together." Seeing this familiar figure, Bai Li Pangpang's eyes grew slightly moist, and the feelings of bitterness and grievance that he had suppressed with reason surged to the surface, causing his lips to tremble uncontrollably. He felt like a child who had been bullied outside, finally finding someone to confide in. He opened his mouth to say something, but Bai Li Exen had already turned and walked into the house. "Shao Qing, make another breakfast for Tuming." The middle-aged man with graying hair entered the kitchen and spoke to a gentle and virtuous woman. Bai Li Pangpang stood there for a moment, silently closing his mouth. His gaze fell on the seemingly refined Bai Li Jing, and his expression gradually turned cold. "You wait for me, this matter won't just end like this." He walked into the house, brushing past Bai Li Jing, who watched his departing figure, adjusting his gold-rimmed glasses with a hint of mockery in his eyes. Bai Li Pangpang entered the spacious and bright living room, where he saw several empty plates quietly placed on a white jade-like dining table. A maid was collecting all the plates, carefully wiping the table with a towel. Moments later, a woman with a gentle demeanor came out of the kitchen, holding a plate of breakfast and smiling. "Tuming, you've been out for so long, you finally thought of coming home?" She placed the breakfast on the dining table and said with a hint of melancholy, "I thought you wouldn't come back today for your dad's birthday." "Mom, I've wanted to come back for a long time but—" Bai Li Pangpang paused for a moment, glancing at Bai Li Jing beside him and continued, "But there was a bit of an accident on the way." "You child. Never mind, hurry up and eat breakfast. After breakfast we need to head to the birthday banquet." The woman shook her head helplessly. Bai Li Pangpang sat down at the dining table, picked up the chopsticks beside him and began to eat breakfast. The incident of being ambushed on the road wouldn't just end like this, but now wasn't the time to confront Bai Li Jing, at least not here. Although he felt wronged, he didn't want to provoke a dirty and foul family dispute on his father's birthday in their home. After all, once he and Bai Li Jing fell out, it would never end well. One of them would definitely leave the Bai family for good. He didn't want to ruin his father's birthday. Since he had safely returned to the Bai family, what difference would it make to wait another day? Bai Li Pang finished all the breakfast on his plate, even licking the crumbs clean, then stood up from the dining table and smiled. "Mom, I'm done. Your cooking is truly amazing." The gentlewoman chuckled as she took his plate away. "You're just sweet talking. Is everything ready for today's birthday celebration?" Bai Li Exen, dressed in an expensive and formal outfit, walked into the living room and asked. Bai Li Pang was about to speak when Bai Li Jing spoke up first. "Everything is ready, Dad." Bai Li Exen nodded, looking Bai Li Pang up and down with a slight frown. "The birthday banquet is about to start. Why are you still dressed like this? Hurry and go change into something else, then we need to take the car to the venue." Bai Li Pang responded with a reaching into his pocket to take out the sandalwood peace charm he had prepared as a birthday gift, but after thinking it over he decided it wasn't the right time and put it back. Chapter 422, Attending the Banquet. The bright sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting a warm glow on the clean floor tiles. Lin Chia, dressed in a suit, stood in front of a large dressing mirror, carefully adjusting the black tie around his neck. This suit was purchased at a mall in Gusu City. While it wasn't the most expensive, it certainly wasn't cheap either. They had decided to attend such an important banquet, and if the suit looked too cheap, it would embarrass Bai Li Pang. After all, they were the future 5th special team. How could they show up looking like beggars? Since the bill was being picked up by the plump boss, Lin Chia felt no remorse. It must be said that suits are indeed a case of you get what you pay for. The tailored suit he wore, though pricey, exuded a sense of sophistication that cheap suits could not match. The high-quality fabric fit him perfectly, accentuating his strong and well-proportioned physique, embodying both elegance and strength. The dark collar paired with the crisp white shirt perfectly highlighted Lin Chia's handsome features. His star-like bright eyes gazed quietly at his reflection, a look of satisfaction appearing in them. Chao Yuan, also dressed in a suit, walked past him. Upon seeing the dashing Lin Chia in the mirror, his expression fell. "Why do you look like a star in a suit while I look like a civilized terrorist?" Lin Chia turned to look at him and saw that Chao Yuan was wearing a suit similar to his own, with his tie meticulously knotted. Yet for some reason the fierce and rebellious aura unique to Chao Yuan still emanated from him. If he had to describe it in 4 words, it would be suit-wearing thug. "Maybe it's a face issue," Lin Chia replied seriously, pointing to the side. "Look, and Qingyu looks perfectly normal in it." And Qingyu, who was tying his tie nearby, paused and a shy smile appeared on his face. He tightened his tie, picked up his black-framed glasses from the table and put them on, resembling a gentle artistic neighbor boy, radiating an aura of knowledge. Chao Yuan's mouth twitched slightly and after a moment he managed to say, "It's fine, I believe Pang won't be much better." The 3 of them were ready when suddenly the door to a bedroom slowly opened. Jialan stepped out wearing a deep blue long dress. Her long silky hair cascaded down to her waist, and she raised her slender arms like jade lotus roots, gently tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, a faint blush appearing on her face. "Do I look good?" She walked up to Lin Chia, her bright eyes filled with anticipation. Chao Yuan and Qingyu turned to look at Lin Chia in the center. Lin Chia studied Jialan seriously and after a long pause nodded, "You look good." The other 2 let out a sigh of relief simultaneously. Hearing those 2 words, a smile blossomed on Jialan's face. The bright sunlight illuminated her features, resembling the warm sun of late autumn, captivating the heart. Ding dong. The crisp sound of the doorbell rang out. Chao Yuan walked to the suite's door and opened it. There stood Chong Kongxing quietly waiting at the door, a polite smile on his face as he respectfully said, "Dear guests, the car is ready. If you are prepared, please follow me to the banquet venue." Just as Lin Chia was about to nod, Chao Yuan seemed to remember something and leaned in to whisper in Lin Chia's ear. "Chia, should we bring our knives to the banquet?" Lin Chia was momentarily taken aback and lowered his head in thought. Logically, as the reserve team of the special squad, they should always be ready, even during their time off, with their knives at hand to respond to any urgent tasks issued by higher-ups. After all, when a helicopter comes to pick them up, it won't wait for them to go back and grab their gear. But they were going to a banquet. Bringing knives might be inappropriate. Moreover, it was by Li Pengpeng's father who was celebrating his birthday. After hesitating for a moment, Lin Chia thought of a solution. He smiled at Chang Kongxing, who was waiting at the door. "Sorry, please give me a few more minutes." With that, he walked back into the room. A few minutes later, he emerged from the room and nodded at the others. The four of them then got back into the stretched Lincoln and headed straight for the banquet venue. The banquet was held on the top floor of Building A1 of the Baili Group, reportedly the tallest building in the entire Guangshan City and the heart of the Baili Group. When Lin Chia first arrived in Guangshan City, he had seen this skyscraper from afar, like a divine pillar piercing the sky, its top completely submerged in the clouds, making it impossible to gauge its actual height. Next to this building were four relatively shorter buildings, resembling satellites surrounding the main tower. From the layout, it looked like a modern castle, with the central tower reaching into the clouds as the residence of the castle's master. So this is what rich people are like. Chao Yuan gazed at the increasingly closer buildings outside the window, unable to help but marvel. Jialan had already leaned against the window, her eyes fixed on the buildings, her mouth forming an O shape. Coming from an ancient society, she had never seen such breathtaking architecture. Calling it a miracle would not be an exaggeration. The vehicle slowly stopped at the entrance of the main building. Chang Kongxing unbuckled his seatbelt, got out and opened the door for Lin Chia and the others. On the wide, pristine red carpet, the four of them stepped out of the black stretched Lincoln, tightened their ties, and looked up at the towering building that seemed to have no end, striding directly toward the building's entrance. At this moment, many guests were already gathered in the luxurious lobby on the first floor, chatting and laughing with one another. Suddenly, their voices gradually quieted down as they turned to look at the entrance. Four figures with strong presence and remarkable appearances walked down the red carpet into the hall. The young man in the center was handsome, standing tall with a calm and deep gaze. On the left was a bespectacled, gentle-looking shy youth. On the right was a girl in a blue long dress, her skin as smooth as cream, stunningly beautiful. And at the far end was a young man with a refined appearance but a hint of fierceness, his gaze sweeping over the crowd, inexplicably sending a shiver down people's spines. The guests curiously observed these four figures, whispering to each other, but no one knew who they were or which prominent family or group they belonged to. "Hello, please show your invitation." "Thank you," said the man standing by the door respectfully. Lin Chia took out four invitations and handed them to the man, who showed a look of surprise before smiling and saying, "Dear guests, please follow me. Our master has prepared a small gift for you." Chapter 423, Forbidden Items Collection Hall. "Prepared gifts? For us?" Lin Chia asked, somewhat puzzled. The man nodded. "Yes, please follow me." After saying this, he gestured for them to follow and led the four of them through the hall, directly towards a hidden elevator at the back. The other guests in the hall watched this scene with increasing surprise in their eyes. They were all representatives from major corporations, prominent figures in the business world, and even they had not received such treatment. Who exactly were these four young people? Lin Chia and the others followed the man into the elevator. The man first entered a password on the smart control screen inside the elevator and verified his fingerprint, then pressed the button for the 101st floor. The elevator operated silently, and as the red numbers continued to change, their distance from the ground began to rise rapidly. When the numbers stopped at the 101st floor, the elevator door finally opened slowly. Behind the door was a wide, luxurious gray corridor. Lin Chia and the others followed the man out of the elevator, walking straight down the corridor. The floor was covered with an unknown velvet carpet, making no sound as they stepped on it. Soft yellow ambient light fell from above, neither dim nor glaring, creating an incredibly comfortable atmosphere. They walked for a full 5 minutes down this corridor, passing countless rooms before reaching the end. The man approached the door at the end, verified his fingerprint and iris, and only then did the heavy door slowly open. Behind it was a vast space that was 3 stories high. Click, click, click. As the door opened, the lights on the ceiling turned on one by one, beams of light cascading down to clearly illuminate the densely packed display cases below. Lin Chia and the others stood at the entrance, watching in shock as the display cases lit up like waves. "What are these?" "They are forbidden items." The man stood beside the door, smiling as he spoke. These are part of the forbidden items collected by the Bailey family. Aside from the 12 extremely dangerous forbidden items stored separately by the Old Master, the rest are all here. Lin Chia walked to the front of one display case and looked inside. It contained a pair of worn black boxing gloves, quietly placed in the center of the display case, emitting an eerie black glow under the overhead lights, making them seem anything but ordinary. In the lower right corner of the display case was a metal plaque with an inscription. Title Gloves. The inner side of the gloves is attached to the Forbidden Ruin Giant Strength of Sequence 356, capable of generating a force between 500 to 3,000 kilograms when punching. Hazard rating B. No requirements for the user. The principle of the forbidden item has been cracked, and it has been included in the replication mass production plan. Lin Chia shifted his gaze from this display case to the densely packed other cases in front of him, unable to help but ask, "How many forbidden items are there here?" The man smiled and replied, "A total of 383 items, including 196 items classified as harmless, forbidden ruins of sequence 600 and above, 86 items classified as low-risk, forbidden ruins of sequence 400 to 599, 63 items classified as dangerous forbidden ruins of sequence 200 to 399, and 38 items classified as high-risk forbidden ruins of sequence 90 to 199. Of course, some of these items share the same forbidden ruins and are counted in the total." Hearing these terrifying numbers, Chow Yuan and the others were completely stunned. They had long heard of the Bailey family's collection of forbidden items, but it was only today that they truly realized what the term collection meant. Such a quantity of forbidden items was simply astonishing. The Old Master himself is a high-ranking member of the Night Watchers and has high hopes for your future 5th Special Team, the man continued. So he asked me to bring you here. Each person can freely choose one forbidden item as a gift from the Bailey family. Lin Chia turned around, somewhat surprised, and said, "Using forbidden items as gifts? Isn't that too extravagant?" The man shook his head with a smile. "Captain Lin, you underestimate the generosity of our Bailey group. To be honest, every special team that emerges receives a gift from the Bailey family. For example, the sword Yuan, in the hands of Captain Wang Mian from the Mask team, was a gift given to him by the Old Master back then." Lin Chia recalled the sword at Wang Mian's waist and nodded thoughtfully. Chow Yuan and Qingyu and the others looked at Lin Chia simultaneously, seemingly waiting for him to make a decision. After a moment, Lin Chia smiled helplessly. "Since it's a kind gesture from Fatty's father, we won't stand on ceremony. Let's each pick one." Chow Yuan and the others nodded and began to disperse throughout the vast collection space to search for their items. Although these forbidden items were arranged by sequence, sometimes a higher-risk sequence did not necessarily mean it was more suitable for oneself. For instance, the sword Yuan in Wang Mian's hands was only a sequence 301 forbidden ruin, but when paired with his abilities, it could deal extremely high-risk damage. Just as Lin Chia was about to start searching as well, the man called out to him. "Captain Lin, the Old Master has personally prepared a forbidden item for you. Please follow me." Lin Chia was slightly taken aback, and after hesitating for a moment he followed the man's footsteps into another room. This room was not large and did not appear as grand as the collection hall outside. Instead, it seemed somewhat cramped. However, in the center of this room lay a slender black box. The man stood at the door and gestured for Lin Chia to enter. Lin Chia stepped forward to the black box, opened the latch on the side, and with a crisp sound the black box slowly opened. Inside lay a snow-white long knife, quietly resting in the center of the box. The length of this knife was similar to that of a straight sword, but it was relatively slender. The blade glimmered with a faint red light under the illumination, exuding an indescribable sense of allure. Lin Chia looked at the white long knife, narrowing his eyes slightly, feeling that it looked somewhat familiar. "Captain Lin, this is different from the forbidden items outside," the man explained at the right moment. "This knife is called Zanbai, attached to the ultra-high-risk forbidden ruin Zanbai of sequence 061. It is one of the 12 precious collections of the Old Master. It can inflict damage on any object within a radius of 1,000 meters, and with a single swing, all things submit. This is a true weapon of mass destruction." At this moment, Lin Chia finally understood where this familiar feeling was coming from. During the training camp, Fatty Bailey had once given him a replica of Shanbai to use. Although it could only ignore a distance of 5 meters, it still left a deep impression on him. And now, the original version of this forbidden item was right in front of him. Chapter 424. All wrong. Lin Chia did not rush to pick up the knife but turned around to look at the man. Why are you giving me this artifact? Lin Chia asked in confusion. Even Wang Mian only took one forbidden item from sequence 301. Why are you giving me such a dangerous knife? Of course it's because Captain Lin is worthy, the man replied with a smile. Your potential is only greater than Wang Mian's. The master believes that you are the true rightful owner of this forbidden item. Lin Chia frowned slightly, about to say something when the man continued. Besides, the master might have a little personal interest. What personal interest? Someday in the future, if the Bailey family encounters any problems, we will need to rely on your assistance, the man said respectfully. So, this is just a transaction? Lin Chia understood his meaning and frowned as he asked. What's wrong with a transaction? The man smiled slightly. We guarantee that this matter will be within your capabilities and will not violate the rules of the Night Watchers. It's reasonable and fair. Lin Chia fell into silence. Indeed, in a sense, a transaction is more reassuring than a simple gift. If what he said is true, helping the Bailey family with something that does not violate the Night Watcher's rules and is within his capabilities does not seem like an unreasonable request. Moreover, this is after all the property of the chubby Bailey family. If such a day comes when something happens to the Bailey family, considering the relationship with the chubby Bailey, even without compensation he would likely lend a helping hand. Thinking this way, the transaction seemed quite worthwhile. All right, I agree. Lin Chia closed the black box and slung it behind him, speaking calmly. Seeing Lin Chia put away the Zhanbai, the man's smile became even brighter and he bowed deeply. You and your team will be the Bailey family's eternal friends. When Lin Chia walked out of the room with Zhanbai on his back, the other three had already chosen their forbidden items. Chao Yuan picked a string of white Buddhist beads to hang on his hand, and Qingyu took a square iron box that was hard to identify, and Jialan chose a silver vintage bracelet, which she was playing with, clearly very fond of. It seems everyone has made their choices, so let's head to the venue directly, the man said with a smile. The group left the collection hall, each carrying their selected forbidden items, and once again took the elevator. This time they went straight to the top floor of the main building, which was the 166th floor. Shangjing City. Commander Yi. Hello, Commander Yi. Dressed in casual clothes, Yi Fan walked through the corridors of the Night Watchers' headquarters, and the passing staff actively greeted him. Yi Fan nodded slightly and continued walking forward. So, you think someone is deliberately withholding Bailey Tumming's entry documents to harm him? Sui Qing, who was beside him, spoke thoughtfully. Exactly, Yi Fan nodded. That doesn't make sense, Sui Qing frowned. Bailey Tumming is the heir of the Bailey Group. If I were his competitor, I would want him to join the special team quickly, keeping him busy and unable to manage the group, letting me erode the group bit by bit. If he could die in battle, that would be even better. Why go through the trouble of withholding his entry documents? That's exactly what I find puzzling. The two arrived at the door of the archives room, presented their credentials in turn, and then entered. The archives room housed many highly confidential documents, accessible only to the senior members of the Night Watchers, making the environment much quieter than outside. The two walked through the metal shelves filled with document bags, heading straight into the depths. There's another possibility. The person withholding the documents is Bailey Exin, Yi Fan said while searching for documents on the metal shelves. He is an honorary senior member of the Night Watchers and Bailey Tumming's father. If he doesn't want his son to take life-threatening risks by joining the special team and withheld the entry application, then everything makes sense. Sui Qing stood in front of the metal shelves, pondering for a long time before shaking his head. You and I both know what kind of person Bailey Exin is. Cold-blooded, ruthless and profit-driven. If his son joins the special team, it would only give him greater influence in high-level meetings and even benefit the entire Bailey group. How could he possibly give up such a significant benefit out of concern for his son's life? Yi Fan gently blew on a certain shelf of metal, stirring up the dust on the long-stored document bags, waved away the smoke and slid his fingers over the stacked document bags, seemingly searching for something. Finally, his finger stopped on a brand-new document bag. The situation inside this bag seems far more complicated than we imagined. Yi Fan took the document bag labeled Bailey Tumming from the metal shelf. In any case, let's start by checking Bailey Tumming's Night Watchers file, tracing back from when he joined the Night Watchers, to see which link went wrong. Swaching nodded, his gaze falling on the document bag, a look of confusion appearing in his eyes. Strange, this document bag should have been stored for over 2 years, right? Why is it still so new? Yi Fan's hand, which was about to open the document bag, paused slightly, his brow furrowing as he began to open it more quickly. He pulled out a thick stack of papers from the document bag and started flipping through them carefully from the first page. The moment his gaze landed on the first sheet, he froze in place. In his mind, the chubby figure sitting on the ice boat that day at sea resurfaced. His brow furrowed tightly. How could this be? This is impossible. He stared blankly at the document in his hand, confusion and disbelief filling his eyes. What's wrong? Swaching took the document from his hand and began flipping through it one by one. These documents seem fine? No, it's wrong. Everything is wrong. Yi Fan shook his head repeatedly. He turned around and quickly walked to the innermost computer in the archives room, rapidly pulling up Bailey Tumming's electronic document. His expression grew increasingly serious as he scrolled through the document. The Bailey family's birthday banquet is on that day? He turned to ask Swaching. Swaching thought for a moment. It should be today. Where is the 5th reserve team? At the birthday banquet, Swaching answered matter-of-factly. You personally approved their leave for these 2 days, didn't you? This is bad. Yi Fan shoved the document into Swaching's hands, speaking seriously. I have an important meeting to attend shortly. Swaching, you need to go to Guangshan for me. Chapter 425. Settling Accounts. Outside the main building of the Bailey Group, a black sedan slowly pulled over to the roadside, the window rolled down. The 9th seat squinted at the magnificent building before him. They've arrived at the venue, Shin Qingzhu said, gripping the steering wheel. Should we pursue them? First, it's the escort from Team 010, then the Bailey family's convoy. They really have done a good job protecting Bailey Tumming, haven't they? The 9th seat snorted coldly. Do they really think that I wouldn't dare to act at the main venue of the Bailey family? Shin Qingzhu frowned slightly. Lord 9th seat, the security inside the Bailey Group's main building is extremely tight, and there are many prohibited items stationed there. It's nearly impossible for us to break in. Who said we need to break in? The 9th seat slowly pulled 2 black invitations from his pocket, a cold smile curling at the corners of his mouth. Before coming here, I had the 7th seat forge 2 invitations. We can walk in openly and then find an opportunity to kill Bailey Tumming. They would never expect us to blend in with the guests. Shin Qingzhu's expression was somewhat strange. Isn't this too risky? What if we get discovered? The 9th seat raised his gaze, looking at Shin Qingzhu's face through the rearview mirror, and spoke coldly. What, are you scared? As a favored person in front of Lord Yu, someone destined to become the 2nd seat of the Believers and lead the entire Believers to glory, you can't even take this little risk. Shin Qingzhu took the invitation, silently tucking the white fox mask into his pocket. When do we leave? Now. Ding dong. The elevator stopped at the 166th floor, and the doors slowly opened, revealing a spacious and luxurious banquet hall before Lin Qiye and the others. The entire 166th floor was the venue for the birthday banquet, with hundreds of square meters of open space surrounded by spotless floor-to-ceiling windows. Outside the windows was an endless sea of clouds, with layers of white clouds drifting beneath the guests' feet. From here one could overlook the entire view of Guangzhou and Shenzhen. Dear guests, please make yourselves comfortable. The birthday banquet will begin in 10 minutes, Chong Kongxing said with a smile. Lin Qiye nodded, casually taking a bottle of champagne from a passing waiter and walking slowly toward the nearby floor-to-ceiling window. Why do you look so familiar with this? Chao Yuan asked as he walked up beside him, glancing around and feeling somewhat out of place in the elegant atmosphere. Lin Qiye raised an eyebrow. Is it that hard? Isn't this how it's portrayed in movies? Chao Yuan. And Qingyu also walked over with a glass of champagne, scanning the surrounding guests. His gaze paused for a moment on a few people in the corner before casually looking elsewhere. The 010 team stationed in Guangzhou and Shenzhen is also here, he said, turning to look out the window calmly. Where? In the southeast corner. Those few who look distracted are them, and Qingyu pushed up his glasses. Their posture is different from the others. Their backs are straight and they exude a strong presence. The thick calluses on their right hands clearly indicate they often wield knives. Lin Chia glanced over there and nodded slightly. They are the night watchmen of Guangzhou and Shenzhen, and since the chairman of the Bailey Group has connections with the night watchmen's upper echelons, it's normal for them to be invited to the birthday banquet. However, they seem to be preoccupied as if they are facing some difficulties. Chao Yuan asked, should we go over and make contact with them? Lin Chia pondered for a moment and shook his head. No, our identities are sensitive, and it's not suitable for us to have direct contact with them. Besides, there are only a few people in this venue who know about the existence of the night watchmen. If we approach them rashly, it might raise their suspicions. That makes sense. Lin Chia looked up at the time, leisurely took a sip of champagne and slowly said, the birthday banquet will start in 7 minutes. Let's quietly enjoy our drinks and wait for Bailey Fatty to make his entrance. Upon hearing this, Chao Yuan instinctively adjusted his collar. That kid better not really dress better than me, he muttered. At that moment, a girl in a red dress with a hollowed-out back approached Lin Chia, holding a wine glass and smiling. Her sweet voice rang out. Hello, my name is Li Xiong from the Li Group. You look really good. Can we get to know each other? Her long eyelashes fluttered gently, and her eyes gazed at Lin Chia's profile, seemingly a bit entranced. Beside them, Jialon's hand holding the wine glass trembled slightly, and she stiffly turned her head away, her eyes narrowing with a dangerous glint. Lin Chia glanced at her and said flatly, Li Group? I haven't heard of it. Please keep your distance. Your perfume is overwhelming. Li Xiong's smile froze on her face. Jialon nearly laughed out loud. She pretended to clear her throat nonchalantly and turned to look out at the cloud scenery, taking a pleasant sip of champagne. Sweet. Hello, my name is Han Shui from Tingyuan Heavy Industry. Miss, may I? A well-dressed young man approached Jialon, flipping his hair and speaking charmingly. Get lost. Bailey Group. Chairman's office. Bailey Exon stood in front of a large black desk, casually putting on an expensive watch and adjusting his clothes in the reflection of the floor-to-ceiling window before slowly turning around. In front of the desk, Bailey Fatty and Bailey Jing stood side by side. Bailey Fatty wore an expensive dark blue suit, standing tall and proud. His slightly overweight body appeared only robust in the formal attire, and his previously carefree demeanor had been completely reined in. His expression was solemn and he looked steady and dignified. Beside him, Bailey Jing lowered his head to put on his gold-rimmed glasses and spoke slowly. Father, all the guests for the birthday banquet have arrived and all the procedures are ready. It will officially start in about 5 minutes. Bailey Exon nodded slightly, his expression unchanged as he said, I'll go out and meet a few old friends first. You can head to the venue directly afterward. Understood. As soon as he finished speaking, Bailey Exon's gaze completely ignored the two in front of the desk, and he stepped straight toward the door. Bang! The door to the chairman's office closed. The air inside the room fell into a dead silence. Bailey Fatty's eyes narrowed slightly as he turned to look at Bailey Jing beside him, a hint of coldness flashing in his gaze. There's still some time. Bailey Fatty spoke in a deep voice. We need to settle our accounts properly. Bailey Jing raised an eyebrow, a slight smile appearing at the corners of his mouth. He leisurely walked around the desk and sat down in the black swivel chair of the chairman. Yes, our accounts need to be settled properly, he said with a half-smile.